Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. The slap of waves against the hull echoed like a drumbeat through the night, but no one heard it over the laughter. Above deck, the party was in full swing. Champagne sparkled under fairy lights strung from one end of the luxury yacht to the other. Polished shoes tapped to bass-heavy music. And in the center of it all stood Tessa Whitmore, the golden girl of the Whitmore family, surrounded by admirers, family, and old friends, none of whom knew the truth about the woman they were toasting. Except for one person, her husband, Miles Whitmore. Below deck, past the galley and into a small private room that Tessa had claimed for quick touch-ups, her husband stood alone, a glass of bourbon in his hand, untouched. His eyes were fixed on the tablet on the table, the screen glowing brightly in the dark room. One email. That's all it had taken to unravel 5 years of marriage, 11 years of love, and every shred of trust he had left in her. The email had no subject line, no sender name, just an attachment. He had clicked out of instinct, expecting something work-related. Instead, he saw photos, blurry but unmistakable. His wife, in a red silk robe, curled against the chest of another man. Not just once, not just one mistake. Over and over. Different locations. Different days. Her eyes, wild with lust and freedom, looked nothing like the woman who kissed him goodbye every morning. And at the bottom of the message was a sentence that made his jaw tighten. You deserve to know. She never planned to stop. Miles didn't scream. He didn't cry. He didn't even blink. He sat down slowly, bourbon in hand, and stared at the screen until the party upstairs felt like a memory from another life. Earlier that evening, she'd leaned in close, kissed him just below the ear, and whispered, "I'll be back in 10. Don't miss me too much." He hadn't. Not anymore. For a man who spent his life in finance, logic had always been his ally. Until now. He thought love was a safe investment. You nurture it, and it pays off. But as he scrolled through the rest of the photos, read the texts, saw the dates and locations, including one from the week they'd spent at her parents' beach house for his birthday, something in him cracked. Not broken, just different. Above deck, she laughed as her sister toasted her, calling her the heart of the family. She grinned for the cameras, hugged her mom, blew kisses to cousins she barely knew. Meanwhile, the man she'd promised forever to stared into the slow decay of their life together, wondering how long he'd been the joke in someone else's comedy. He pulled out a small black notebook from his jacket, not for thoughts or therapy, just names. Nathan Blake, her co-worker from the design firm, the one she said was like a brother. Julian Torres, the yoga instructor she swore she couldn't stand. Liam Denon, the family friend who conveniently always showed up when Miles was out of town. 3 names, dozens of images, hundreds of lies. Miles stood, straightened his collar, and pocketed the notebook. He wasn't going to confront her tonight. No, he wanted her to feel the weight of silence, the absence of explanation, the slow drip of confusion that would turn into dread. He left the room. As he ascended the stairs to the upper deck, the music swelled. He joined the crowd just as Tessa turned and spotted him. She smiled, that practiced, camera-ready smile, and reached for his hand. "You okay, babe?" she asked, brushing her lips over his cheek. "You've been hiding. Just needed some air," he said. A lie, but that's what they did now, wasn't it? "Dance with me," she whispered. He did. She twirled under the lights like a woman who hadn't set fire to everything they built. He danced like a man planning his escape. The next morning, she woke up to find the bed empty. Nothing unusual. Miles often went for early runs when he needed to clear his head. What was unusual was that his side of the closet was half empty, and his phone, gone. His toothbrush, gone. His cologne, the one she bought him for their anniversary, still there, unopened. She called. No answer. She texted, "Everything okay, babe? Where are you?" Nothing. Then she checked the guest room. His suitcase was gone. The realization hit like a slow, cold wave. Her palms went clammy. She checked his location history. Turned off. Her stomach turned. What was going on? Downstairs, her mother was making pancakes and humming. Tessa smiled, nodded, answered idle questions. But her brain was spiraling. When the first anonymous email came to her work address that afternoon, filled with screenshots of her own texts with Julian, of her photos with Nathan. She froze. The subject line this time? Thought you might want a reminder of who you are. She gasped, slammed the laptop shut, looked around. He knew. He knew everything. That night, she sat on the edge of their bed, staring at her phone, then called Miles again. The ring echoed endlessly until voicemail picked up. Miles, please can we talk? Please just call me back. I'm sorry. I need to explain. She didn't know where he was. But Miles did. He was in a cabin outside White Harbor, watching the tide roll in from the porch, sipping black coffee, listening to the voicemail with dead eyes. He wouldn't respond. Not yet. Because this wasn't the end. This was the beginning. The beginning of a lesson Tessa Whitmore would never forget. Before the betrayal, Miles used to wake at 5:45 a.m. sharp, not because he had to, but because he believed in momentum. His mornings were sacred. Black coffee, a 5-mile run, 20 minutes of reading, then the markets. Tessa would wake hours later, wrapped in linen sheets, sunlight dusting her shoulder blades, with her hair in a messy halo and a lazy smirk on her face. He used to love that contrast. His discipline, her chaos. He used to call her Hurricane Tess. She liked it. Their kitchen always smelled like freshly ground beans and coconut candles. Spotify's soft focus playlist hummed while she danced barefoot, wearing one of his t-shirts and swaying with her smoothie in hand. It looked like a perfect life, but now he saw it differently. Every perfect moment had been layered with lies. Miles hadn't run in 3 weeks, but today he did. For miles through the pine-lined trails near the coast. The air was sharp, pure. Every step pounded her name into the ground. Tessa. Tessa, who cried when he proposed, who called him her safe place, who made a wedding speech about building a future. And all that time, she had been building escape hatches. She didn't just cheat. She lived 2 lives. And that's what stung the most. Back at the cabin, Miles opened his laptop. He hadn't checked the burner email in 24 hours. 17 new messages. Half were from Tessa, begging, apologizing, bargaining. The rest were from people in her life. Some shocked, some defensive, some cruelly accusatory. But one name stood out. Nathan Blake. The like a brother one. Subject, let's talk. You deserve the truth. Miles didn't hesitate. He opened it. Look, I know I've messed up. I didn't know she was still with you. She told me things were over. She said you were toxic, that you were cold. She played us both, man. I ended it months ago when I found out the truth. She told me you hit her, by the way. I didn't believe her, but she told a lot of people that. Maybe you should know that before she spreads it further. Sorry for what happened. I really am. His heart went cold. She wasn't just rewriting their love story. She was painting him as the villain. A coward might have reacted, blown it all up, called her out, posted the truth. Miles didn't. He wasn't playing checkers. He was building chess pieces. Back in the city, Tessa's life began to fray in slow motion. She still showed up at Whitmore Design Studio like nothing had happened. Still posted iced lattes and color palettes on her Instagram story. Still wore Miles's last name like armor. But behind the eyeshadow and curated coffee shots, there was panic. Because people had started to talk. Some friends had gone quiet. Others, colder. And when she tried to speak, their eyes darted around, careful, curious, judging. The worst came when she walked in a brunch with her best friend Hallie and was met with silence. Hallie just stared at her and whispered, Miles told me. Tessa's stomach dropped. Told you what? That you cheated. That it wasn't just once. That you lied to everyone. That you tried to tell people he abused you. Tessa scoffed. I never said that. Hallie cut her off. He sent me screenshots, Tess. Photos. Messages. It's real. I defended you for 2 weeks. And then I saw it all. Tessa's jaw clenched, but no words came. And by the way, Hallie said, grabbing her purse, Landon, really? You don't just betray your husband. You betrayed your friends. You dragged me into it. Then she left. Tessa stood there, makeup perfect, heart in shambles, while her eggs got cold and her phone stayed dark. She went home and tore through her closet, pulled on one of Miles's old sweaters, and curled into a ball on the living room floor. He wasn't just gone. He had erased himself from her life so completely that every room felt haunted. Meanwhile, Miles had begun planting seeds. One message to a former client of hers. Just a heads up. There's some drama coming. You may want to hold off until it clears. One anonymous tip to her firm's PR rep. Potential scandal involving co-founder. Allegations may surface. He wasn't trying to destroy her. Not yet. He was doing something worse. Letting her slowly unravel. He began going out again. Small cafes, nearby towns. Nothing flashy. But he met people. He started talking. And most importantly, he met Camilla Grant, a therapist-turned-life coach who ran a podcast and happened to overhear him talking to a barista about betrayal. They struck up a conversation. Then coffee. She listened. Not with pity, but clarity. You know what hurts the most? Miles said to her one night, watching the water. It's not that she cheated. It's that she wanted to be someone else, with someone else. And I was just the furniture in her story. Camilla nodded. You don't get over that by confronting her. You get over that by becoming the version of yourself she can never access again. It clicked. Tessa wanted him broken, begging, or enraged. He'd give her none of that. He'd give her success, distance, silence. He launched a personal project, an investment app he'd quietly been building for 2 years. But now, with his energy fully shifted, he poured himself into it. Coding at night, pitching by day, quietly gathering capital and allies. He wasn't hiding anymore. He was building an empire, and she'd never see it coming. But the real move, the one that would make her entire world collapse, that was still to come, and it would begin with an invitation. The invitation arrived exactly 27 days after Miles walked away. Cream-colored cardstock, elegant gold trim, handwritten calligraphy. Not from Miles. From Savannah Rothwell, CEO of Clarity Vest, a woman Tessa once scoffed at for dressing like she still shops at Macy's. The card read, "We're excited to invite you to the launch gala of Equinox Tech, a groundbreaking partnership between Rothwell Group and Whitmore Innovations." Tessa blinked. Whitmore Innovations. There was no such company when Miles left. Her stomach twisted. She looked up the name. Her fingers trembled as she read the headlines. Ex-financier Miles Whitmore returns with stealth startup, shocks tech market. Whitmore's clean break pays off. $3M pre-seed round closed quietly. From silence to spotlight, the redemption of Miles Whitmore. Every photo was worse than the last. Miles in tailored suits. Miles with investors. Miles shaking hands with the governor. Miles smiling. But not the smile she knew. The soft, sweet one he gave her on sleepy mornings. This one was different. Harder. Sharper. Free. Tessa dropped her phone. The screen cracked. Fitting. She was supposed to be the public one. The star. The one who sparkled at events. And yet he had risen, not despite her betrayal, but because of it. At the firm, whispers turned into stares. Delaney from HR passed her in the hallway and muttered, "Guess he upgraded." Her own assistant had stopped liking her posts. Clients were canceling meetings indefinitely. She tried to spin it, posted inspirational quotes, scheduled a soulful podcast appearance, wrote a blog about rebuilding through hardship, but none of it stuck. People sensed it. Her mask was cracking. And then the final blow came. Camilla Grant featured Miles on her podcast. The Art of Leaving, When Silence Speaks Louder Than Revenge, had gone viral in less than 2 days. In it, Miles never mentioned Tessa by name, but the story was unmistakable. He spoke of betrayal, rebuilding, emotional violence disguised as passion, and what it meant to walk away with grace. Millions listened. One comment under the episode said, "Whoever did that to him lost more than a good man. She lost the kind of peace you only find once." Tessa didn't cry when she read it. She screamed. Meanwhile, Miles was sharpening the edges of his plan. He never wanted to ruin her. He wanted her to stand in a room filled with mirrors and see herself from every angle. He had no interest in revenge porn or explosive fights. What he wanted was for her entire ecosystem to reject her. And it was working. Quietly, methodically, he'd reached out to mutual friends, offering nothing but facts. No embellishment. No smear campaign. Just truths. Delivered with receipts. Screenshots. Dates. Her own words. It was terrifying how fast a foundation of lies could dissolve when exposed to light. By the time the Equinox Tech launch arrived, the ballroom at the Roosevelt in Manhattan was buzzing. Investors. Media. Politicians. And Miles. In a black tux. Calm. Sharp. Ready. Tessa stood across the room, clinging to a glass of white wine like a lifeline. She hadn't planned to come, but curiosity, or desperation had dragged her there. She watched from a distance as people greeted Miles like royalty. The mayor shook his hand. Savannah clinked glasses with him. Even Ava Chancellor, a woman who hadn't spoken to Tessa since her wedding, leaned in to whisper something in Miles's ear that made him laugh. Tessa's cheeks burned. She walked toward him without thinking. He saw her coming. Didn't flinch. Didn't smile. Didn't even blink. "Congratulations," she said quietly. He nodded. "Thank you. You're doing well," she added. "Better than I thought I would," he replied, tone even. She searched his eyes for something. Pain, nostalgia, even hate. There was nothing. Just quiet distance. "Can we talk?" she asked. "Here," he said. "Now. She glanced around. "I don't recognize this version of you." "That's the point," he said. "You never did." Before she could answer, Savannah appeared. "Miles, we're about to begin." He turned. "Coming." Then looked at Tessa once more. "I'll have my assistant send you a box," he said, "for the rest of my things. You can leave them with the doorman." And then he walked away, leaving her standing there, in her most expensive heels, her best dress, wearing the perfume he once called his favorite. Alone, like a prop on a stage where the play had long since ended. She went home that night and tore through old journals, trying to rewrite the story in her head, telling herself he was cold, that he had changed. But the truth was simple. She had broken something pure, and Miles hadn't come back to scream or curse. He came back to rise and leave her behind, publicly, unapologetically, forever. 3 weeks after the gala, Tessa sent a handwritten letter. Not a text, not an email. Paper, ink, desperation. "I miss who we were. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But if there's a version of this story where you and I talk, even for 5 minutes, I'll be there." She slid it under the door of Miles's new apartment downtown, a unit she had no right knowing the location of. He found it that evening. Read it once. No reaction. By then, he had moved on. Not to another woman. To another life. The startup had launched with staggering early success. Investors trusted him. Media praised his maturity. Camilla Grant's podcast made him a household name in entrepreneurial circles. But more importantly, he had found peace. And part of peace meant not letting old flames set fire to his new world. Still, he didn't toss the letter. He placed it neatly in a folder labeled "Closure." A week later, Tessa tried again, this time through a mutual friend. She showed up at Savannah Rothwell's birthday event, pretending to run into Miles casually. "You look good," she said. He raised his glass. "So do you. Hope things are calming down for you." She took that as an opening. "I've been in therapy. I've been reflecting. I know what I did." "I'm sure you do," he replied. "Do you ever wonder if—" "No," he said, cutting her off with a polite smile. "I don't." She swallowed. "You really hate me that much?" Miles looked at her dead calm. "I don't hate you, Tessa. That would mean I still feel something." He walked away again. And this time, she broke. That night, Tessa posted a tearful video. Vague statements. No direct blame. But anyone watching could read between the lines. She painted herself as a broken woman. Talked about abandonment. Used words like emotional absence, pressure, and being misunderstood. It worked for a moment. Some sympathy flowed in. Until Miles's lawyer sent a discreet legal notice. Not a threat, just a statement of facts. Attached was a private link. That link led to a time-stamped PDF. Photos. Messages. Her own confessions. A record of lies she told. Damage she caused. She took the video down within 2 hours. But it was too late. A former client dropped her. Her sponsorship with a boutique clothing label vanished. And worst of all, her parents stopped defending her. Her mother called and said, "Tessa, we love you. But you need to stop acting like you're the victim. You had a good man, and you let your ego ruin it." That night, Tessa sat in her once shared apartment, now dim, cold, and quiet, watching an interview of Miles on live TV. He was laughing, genuinely, and beside him, Camilla Grant. Not in a romantic way, just two people who had healed together. But that's what hurt the most, because Miles had found something she never would again. Peace. And he didn't need revenge anymore, because his absence and his success said everything. Fall arrived fast. Leaves turned, the wind bit a little harder, and the city moved on, just like Miles had. His company was scaling fast. They were featured in Forbes, highlighted in tech podcasts, and invited to speak at Stanford. One rainy Thursday morning, his phone buzzed with a new email. Subject: final papers, signature needed. It was from the lawyer. The last step. The divorce. Clean. Uncontested. All assets already separated. No drama. Just an ending. He tapped sign, then closed his laptop. No tears. No hesitation. He looked out over the skyline from his new office, a quiet moment before his team meeting. He smiled to himself, remembering something Camilla once said. Sometimes the best revenge is proving to yourself that you didn't need to become cruel to win. Across the city, Tessa sat in the corner booth of a cafe she used to love. Now, no one waved at her. No clients called. The design firm had quietly shifted her off major projects. Her reputation hadn't collapsed publicly, but it had slowly eroded. Every room she walked in now felt colder. Every smile felt tighter. She checked her email again. Nothing. Miles had never responded to her letter, or her voicemail, or the gift basket she'd sent to his company. She still wore the bracelet he gave her on their 3rd anniversary, though she told everyone it was just vintage. But inside, she knew the truth. He wasn't punishing her. He had simply removed her from his future. And that was far worse than any tantrum, any fight. He had erased her, not out of hate, but out of indifference. That night, she went home to her silent apartment and stared at an old photo on the mantel. Them, laughing in Italy, one summer before the betrayal. Back when he loved her completely. She reached up and turned it face down. Meanwhile, Miles stood at the back of a private networking event, sipping from a tumbler, listening to a young entrepreneur pitch her first product. She reminded him a bit of Tessa, driven, bold, artistic. But the difference? This girl wasn't pretending to be someone else. She was real. Later that night, Camilla asked him quietly, "Do you ever miss her?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked around, at the life he built, the peace he kept, the people who respected him not because he was broken, but because he refused to be. Finally, he said, "No, I just miss who I thought she was." Camilla smiled. "That's grief. But you're not grieving anymore." He nodded, and for the first time since it all ended, he believed it. Not every heartbreak needs closure from the one who caused it. Sometimes, closure comes when you choose yourself, fully, unapologetically. And when the person who once played you like a fool realizes, you don't even think about them anymore.